guys my review of Season 3, Episode 1 of Shadowhunters, The Infernal Ground. If you're watching this video and by now you don't know what Shadowhunters is basically a TV show adaptation of Cassandra Clare's best-selling book series called The Mortal Instruments. I can't really give you guys a non-spoiler section because this is obviously Season 3, so yeah, I'm going to just jump right into the review. My overall impression of this episode was that I actually really liked it. I have started separating the book and the TV show kind of in my mind already. I knew that like in Season 1 and 2 I was still like a tiny bit iffy about some stuff that was happening, but I think in this season, or at least in this one episode, I actually really was able to separate the TV show from the source material, and I actually found myself really enjoying it. Granted, the dialogue and the acting is still a tiny bit weird. There were a few scenes that kind of made me cringe. Tomato, tomato. You want me? Come and get me. Scenes like that. But other than that, I feel like the acting and the writing and just the general plot has really improved. I am actually really impressed with both Kat and Dom and their acting. I think it's a lot more sophisticated compared to Season 1 and 2, which just goes to show that it was actually the writer's fault for just giving them really weird lines in Season 1 and 2 and that it wasn't actually their acting. Whoever knows me knows that I absolutely love Dom as an actor. I kind of already fell in love with him when he played Christian in Vampire Academy. So I already knew that Dom was a really good actor and that I was kind of let down that his lines in Season 1 and 2 were a bit cringy. But other than that, I think he's a great actor and it's just really nice to see that come through this season. So the first thing that I noticed was Alicante. I think that the sort of CGI work and the way that they showed the city improved a lot since Season 1 and 2. Obviously in Season 1 you didn't really see Alicante, and in Season 2 you also didn't really see it. You only saw like a tiny bit of it. But what we did see, that really kind of wide shot where they kind of helicopter flew over the scene, I actually really did enjoy that. I think it looked really great. Obviously it doesn't like 100% sort of resemble the Alicante that I have in my mind. In my mind it looks a bit more, yeah, like a European city with lots of little houses and the canals. I think that in the show it's a lot more modernized. But what we did see of it, I actually did really like. What was kind of disappointing was that when I watched the trailer for Season 3, I was actually getting really excited for that one scene where Clary gets her angelic rune for the first time and pledges her allegiance to the Shadowhunter world. So I was just a tiny bit disappointed to see that scene just being like very short and only at the beginning for like the first 2 minutes. I did really like the kind of ceremony scene. I think that's really cool. Even though it wasn't included in the books, I actually like the idea of there being this kind of initiation ritual ceremony, because I know in the books the Shadowhunters only really get the clairvoyance rune on their hand, and that's kind of like their first rune as a Shadowhunter. So I do like the idea, even though I think that it's good that Cassie didn't really write that in there, but I think for a visual representation of the book, I think that it was actually really well done, and it made me all emotional. I also just really quickly wanted to say that I'm just liking Isaiah Mustafa as Luke more and more. I think that while his arc is a bit different than in the books, we don't really see him as much in the books, I'm actually really starting to enjoy his arc with Ollie and, you know, having to hide the Shadowhunter world from her. I think it's quite unexpected, but I think this is just something that kind of goes to show that creative liberty in general isn't very bad when they're dealing with like a book source material. Obviously, I think that the book is still a lot better, so I wish that they would have still kept in the kind of Jocelyn-Luke relationship. But considering that I'm keeping it separate in my mind, the source material and the show, I do really like Luke's kind of job as a police officer. I think it's very different from the book, but I think it's also very interesting, and it actually suits his personality really well. In fact, Isaiah's doing such a good job as Luke that when I was actually reading the books this month, the way that I'm actually sort of portraying Luke in my mind actually looks a lot more like Isaiah than what I used to sort of imagine him looking like, which just goes to show that he's a great actor. What I found very interesting as well was seeing Lilith actually taking over the Church of Talto. In the books, you don't really see that happening. You just kind of see her towards the end of the book and whatever goes down there. But it was actually really interesting seeing her sort of build up her kind of army, or starting to like settle down in New York and trying to bring Sebastian back. It was kind of creepy, and it also, the CGI work has also really improved since the first and second season, so I just really want to give them kudos for that. The demons, while not looking like totally real, they look a lot better, and actually I was pretty horrified this season, especially that one scene where that guy like was on his arms and legs and then his like head did that like 360 turn and he did this like weird, I can't even explain it. It was super, super freaky. It was one of the few moments that the show has really made me get like crawlers down the back of my spine. So I just wanted to say kudos for that. That was really well done. What was, however, very interesting was that in this episode we find out that the Clave actually doesn't know or thinks that Clary and Jace did not use the wish of the angel. I know that in the book, like, I don't know whether the Clave actually knew about it, but it was definitely not something that was like a big deal or like that Clary and Jace had to keep a secret. Like they did keep it a secret, but it wasn't like they were worried about being punished or something for if they found out that they used the wish. I found that a very interesting thing that the show writers added into the show. I'm very interested to see how it's gonna play out. I feel like that's kind of the focus that they're gonna be putting on the season. Clary and Jace having to sort of hide what they did. And I think that that's a very interesting decision, and I'm excited to see where that goes. I also think that Dom just is doing a very, very great job at portraying the kind of struggle that he's going through. Obviously, like at this point, we don't really know what's happening to him, but I really liked those nightmare scenes, or that nightmare scene, that one scene, which was basically taken straight out of the book. It was really creepy. It was just giving me all these feels. And obviously the people who don't know what's going on are probably all like, oh my goodness, like what is happening? And I really feel like the show writers are doing an excellent job at visually portraying that with Jace. So that is also something that I really liked in this episode. Magnus has also just become a lot more funny, and it was really cute to see him interact with Alec. Obviously, when Alec sort of tells him like that he's going off to Idris, and Magnus was like, yeah, you should totally go, like, no worries. At first I felt like, whoa, that's really cute, like Magnus is being so supportive of Alec going to Idris, but then my second thought was like, there's something going on there. There's something he's not telling Alec, and obviously that turned out to be true. This is also something that I kind of don't really like about the show that much anymore. I obviously love Malik. Alec and Magnus are just so cute together, and I wish them all the best. And obviously I do think that having flawed couples is a very good thing to have in a TV show, you know, like having couples actually dealing with their issues and not just being all lovey-dovey, you know, in a honeymoon phase, seeing everything through rose-tinted glasses. What I did really like about season 1 and 2 was that they showed the kind of problems that Alec and Magnus were having together, but I'm sort of just getting sick and tired of them lying to each other. It's just like the same thing over and over again, like Magnus can't be honest with Alec, Alec can't be honest with Magnus, and I feel like they're just dragging out this one problem a bit too much. I also really like Izzy and Clary's relationship, the few scenes that we get between them, like for example where Izzy was giving Clary her new weapons. I really like that. I really like the chemistry between Kat and Emerald. That's actually one of the things that I really liked about the show changing from the books, is the fact that Clary and Izzy sort of warm up to each other a bit faster. I know that in the books there was an actual reason behind that. I think that's something that I really like seeing on the show, is just seeing this relationship between a strong woman and a strong woman like really blossoming and turning into something that really empowers both of them. What I also really like is the fact that we really see the struggle that Clary is going through about the wish that she made. I remember that one scene where Izzy comes up to her and she's like, whoa, like didn't you want to wish for like world peace or like ending hunger or something? And you could really see the emotions like play out on Kat's face. And like I said before, the acting has really improved. And so I think that that was also something that I really liked from this episode, was seeing it very, very visually. I think my only complaint about the entire episode was probably the scene with the Seelie Queen. It was really funny though, having Simon like sitting in the Seelie court and like just jamming his own song. That was really, really funny. What I didn't really like though was the fact that the Seelie Queen is the one that puts the mark on Simon. Now obviously we who read the books know what the mark does, and we also know who initially gives him the mark and for what reason, but I don't understand why the Seelie Queen would be the one to do it. Like, what does she have to benefit from it? I also kind of feel like making the Seelie Queen the one who gives him the mark kind of takes away the power and reason why Simon took the mark. A lot of emotions and power struggles that goes on in City of Glass. At this point, it's Simon's last resort, right? I don't really see why the Seelie Queen would be the one to put it on him. I think that that's really weird. I'm interested to see how this will play out, so I hope that there's going to be an actual reason why the Seelie Queen is doing this, and I'm assuming that the reason the Seelie Queen is doing this is the reveal that we get about the Seelie Queen in book 6. I'm hoping that it's sort of tied together with that, because that would be really interesting. I also really like that fighting scene between Jace and Clary. I think that that was really cool. I really like the way that they always pair the kind of really cool fight scenes with like this really cool music. I really do like the music that they use in the show, but I don't know whether I'm the only one who thought this, but it doesn't really look like they're fighting very well. I am not an expert at any kind of like martial arts thing, but it didn't look like they were very good at fighting. It looked kind of weird, a bit choppy, almost like they weren't really trying that much. Maybe I'm the only one. Let me know in the comments whether you guys agreed with that. I would like to hear your thoughts. Yeah, I don't know. That was just a tiny bit strange, although I really did like that scene. Now, the very last thing that I want to touch up on is Izzy and her meeting that guy called Charlie. I really like the way that Izzy was kicking that vending machine. That was just really funny. It was such an Izzy thing to do. I'm kind of interested to see who Charlie is gonna be. I'm assuming that the show is kind of trying to push Charlie to be her like new love interest. I don't know how I feel towards that. I'm assuming that maybe they're trying to spice up the show a tiny bit. Yeah, I mean, what do you guys think of that? Do you guys think that Charlie seems like an okay guy for Izzy to be with? Is it kind of weird? Yeah, let me know in the comments. So yeah, those were my thoughts for Shadowhunters Season 3 Episode 1. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought, individual scenes that you guys really liked, maybe some lines that you thought were really cliche or really weird. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I will be bringing out another review of Season 3 Episode 2 next week, and thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys soon with another video. Bye!